Right, good morning.
Good
And
morning.
good morning, Jim. And thank you so much for taking the time to come here for this interview. And Jim is many things to many people, but today I've invited him because he's a learning disabilities nurse extraordinaire. And this week is Learning Disabilities Week. And we have Jim for about, well, it was about 30 minutes. It might be about 2 minutes now, but anyway, no, I joke. So, Jim, could you just please start off by telling us why you became a learning disabilities nurse and why it's important to you?
Yeah, hi Claire, hi everyone. Thank you very much for interviewing me today. So why did I become a learning disability nurse? Well, I've always been interested in the rights and justice of people with or without a learning disability. And actually I became a learning disability nurse kind of by accident, really. I saw an advert for a support worker in the South London Press many years ago. And I thought, well, this sounds great. You know, you get to work with people, get to have fun, and you're getting paid for it as well. So I just thought, this is just delightful. It's really up my street. So I really found that it's just something that really dovetailed with me. And I just really thought it was a great idea, wonderful to work with people and basically have fun to enhance and help them have healthier, happier lives. So how I became a learning disability nurse was I saw an advert within the organisation I worked in for people to undertake their training. And there were about 500 people in the organisation that could have applied. I applied, got in, and I just thought, wow, they're going to pay me to do training as well. This is just even better. So it was just a delight from then on. But I've always been horrified by the health injustice, social injustice, and general rights ignorance, really, of the rights of people with a learning disability and the withholding of those rights and the lack of value that often is placed at the door of people with learning disabilities, which is so shockingly wrong.
Okay, so do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've done to redress that? Because I know you've been involved in many projects and organisations to help people who are living with learning disabilities.
Yes, so Claire, well, I've done quite a few things, I think. So I've been a community learning disability nurse. I've worked as a lecturer practitioner, which is a university lecturer as well as a clinician at the same time. I've worked as a senior lecturer in universities involving and engaging people within education and training to help enhance the understanding of health professionals of people with a learning disability. I've worked in 2 large acute hospitals as a consultant nurse in learning disabilities, helping to embed systematic change across those settings, reasonable adjustments to provide better care for people as and when they need it in ways that they understand, but also setting up groups within both of those hospitals to hold me to account, because I serve people with a learning disability and their families, not the organisation within which I work. Now, some organisations might find that a bit disturbing. That doesn't mean I don't pay attention to them, because obviously they're very important. But my key focus is people themselves and what they do want and need from people like myself. So I set up a group called LD, Our Health, Our Hospital, which was co-chaired by parents with, of someone with a learning disability and someone with a learning disability to look at how we can embed change together. What is it that they want? How do they want it? And what are they going to do to help me to make it right? But also, when they're not happy with what I'm doing, let me know. Tell me what they think, how I can do it better, and get involved in that way. So I sort of built things like theatre recovery pathways in hospitals, ensured that, for example, in 2009, in the first acute hospital I was in, one of the first actions I did was to get rid of the visiting waiting time, because in acute hospitals, you can't expect nurses and doctors and healthcare assistants on the ward to automatically tune into somebody who may not have much speech, who may not speak at all, who may have behaviours that people find hard to interpret. So having their supporter, their carer there with them, their family member that loves them, that it tunes into their frequency, really helps clinicians of all sorts to get things right. And without that, you can get things wrong very easily, as we know.
And that really segues quite nicely into one of the other questions I had, which was really about how can non-learning disability nurses and midwives learn more about caring for people who are learning with who are living with learning disabilities?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is just stay calm, relax. All you see isn't all that there is. Even sugar looks like salt. So look beyond what's in front of you. Explore behind what may be happening for somebody. They may be behaving in a strange or different way than you're expecting to. They may be very loud, they may be very quiet, but think beyond what's in front of you. Don't be blown away by a diagnostic overshadowing and linguistic gymnastics of multi-professional names and terms that people use. Think about what is actually happening to the person. Is it a physical, is it a mental health, or is it an emotional problem that's happening for them? Because that's what will enable people to have better lives and actually save their lives. People with learning disabilities sadly die many times over, avoidable deaths. That's not they die time and time again, the same person, but many people die avoidably because people don't tune in to what's actually happening for them. They get blinded by what they first see. So my key message would be stay calm, tune into the person and work with them and their family, carers and supporters, because they're the experts. As health professionals, we certainly are not. We know that much about someone's life. They know the full picture. So if you don't tune into them and work with the families and the people themselves and their carers, you will continue to get it wrong and continue to be part of the avoidable deaths that do take place in this country.
Yeah, thanks. That's a really useful takeaway, I think, and I think also as working with people with brain impairment due to often dementia in its many diagnostic forms. I think that's important as well. It's about keeping people with people that they know and trust, but also not reacting, particularly if the behaviour is something that you feel frightened of. But actually just taking that deep breath and going, okay, I'm the professional here, but actually I don't know how to manage this. So who knows? Well, the people in front of me are the people that know and can help me. So I think that's a really and
I think Claire, people need to be less frightened of the admittance that actually we don't know everything. It seems that health professionals still are quite scared of saying, actually, I don't know. Well, I don't know an awful lot of things about an awful lot of things. So actually, being able to get that support and assistance is so important. But what health professionals really need to see is that families and friends are allies. They are the solution. They are not the problem very often. And if you look at behaviour that's challenging, 90%, if not more, is created by those who have not got the learning disability. It's because people are freaking out and panicking around them that creates a disturbance and a turmoil within the person. And they don't understand what's happening to or for and with them.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with that. So my last question, and then after that, if you don't mind, just going to see if anybody else has any questions for you, is the theme for Learning Disabilities Week is friendship. Do you have any thoughts on friendship?
Yeah, friendship's absolutely fabulous. You've got to have friends. And I think that a lot of time people find it very strange to think that, you can live a life without friends, or people with learning disabilities very often have only the support network around them that may be paid carers that are not their friends. They're paid to be there, and that's great. They can be very helpful, but they're not friends, and they can provide great support. So often you find people with learning disabilities can be very isolated, but otherwise you can find having fabulous opportunities. I've got a friend who I've known for years. I've got a few other friends, but this particular friend, he has a learning disability. And we go to football together. We have a laugh. He came to watch, I support West Ham. You can see it behind me. We went to see West Ham versus Manchester City, first game of the season. And he was delighted that West Ham lost 5-0. He's a Chelsea fan, so what does he know about football? But joking aside, he's done brilliant work. His name's Lloyd Page, and Lloyd has done wonderful work over the last 30 years around the health and justice rights of people with learning disabilities like himself. He sits on the NHS Patient Advisory Board. He's sat on many committees to influence change and shape a better, brighter future for everyone. So Lloyd's a fabulous advocate, but there's some other wonderful people out there with a learning disability who do great stuff. So friendships, reality, and just enabling people to be who they want to be. But friendship is vital.
Excellent. Yeah, indeed. And so yeah, I'm gonna unmute everybody and see whether Ken and Rachel have any questions or insights or anything that they want to share. You're unmuted. You can talk if you want to. Don't all share at once. Not listening to me anyway.
I think they're still muted.
Are they? They should be unmuted. No, it's telling me they're all unmuted.
They look muted on my screen.
Yeah, they look muted on my screen as well. I don't know. Hang on a second. Let me try unmuting individual. No, it says they're unmuted, so I don't know why they're not unmuted.
Okay. But I think just to sort of carry on a bit more about where do learning disability nurses need to practice across and within all sectors, primary, acute and community, because everybody with a learning disability traverses these areas. And it's very important that you get a learning disability nurse if you have a learning disability. If you have diabetes, should you see a diabetic nurse specialist? If you have epilepsy, do you see an epilepsy nurse specialist? Yes, you do. But if you've got a learning disability, do you see a learning disability nurse? There aren't many of us around. It's a fabulous profession. Look it up, get engaged, follow. I'm on Twitter at Jim G. Blair. Do look me up at Jim G. Blair and pass on lots of stuff. You can DM me. I'll try and answer any questions you've got. And remember, everybody's life has worth. We each matter. We each count. We all add value. And we are all society together.
Indeed, and Rachel's unable to talk. Rachel and Ken can chat, and you can put stuff in the chat box. I have no idea why I can't unmute you. Rachel and Ian's son Alex lives with autism, and I don't know whether you watch Graysons Art Club, but Alex was featured on Graysons Art Club not once but twice. Because of the models that he's made. So it's a good one to... Brilliant. It was the fantasy episode and then episode 6, which was the last one. So yeah, you might want to go and have a look at that. So
that's wonderful. And the thing is, sometimes people get confused between autism and a learning disability. They're two separate things. And just because you've got a learning disability doesn't mean you've got autism. And just because you've got autism doesn't mean you've got a learning disability. A lot of people with autism do have a learning disability, but an awful lot more do not. And it's about just working out who the person is, tuning into their abilities and skills and celebrating, showcasing their talents, just as you've discussed. Everybody can and do things. We just need, at different times in our lives, a bit of support and a bit of help.
Yeah, indeed we do. Indeed we do, which is in fact why I started doing these, well, this isn't a Facebook Live, obviously, but I've been doing Facebook Lives morning and evening since the 10th of April, just in case nurses and midwives needed some extra support during these pandemic times. But in fact, other people have been joining as well. It's not just been nurses and midwives. So we've had a good ongoing connection as well, which is good.
Excellent. And there's 5 core things that learning disability nurses can do to help get things right for people with a learning disability and their families. And that is to address diagnostic overshadowing, which we just talked about. That's when you get blinded by the disability and put everything down to the disability rather than explore for a physical health reason. The second one is identifying specific health issues that face people with a learning disability that are more prevalent in that population. The third and the central part of the hand is working alongside people with learning disabilities, their families and carers, to create service evolution. and to change that we really need to have. We should have on every organisation board, be it a trust or anywhere else, a person with a learning disability and a parent. There should be representation in all levels of organisations. They should be employed to support and change the future for all, from education through to professional qualification and beyond. Then the fourth element is really education and action, showing people how, why, when, and how to get things right, working alongside people with a learning disability, tuning into their frequency, a bit like a radio, which used to go like that. You actually tune into someone's frequency and understand what's happening. Pain, as you know very well, Claire, is not easily interpreted or experienced by people with a learning disability in a different way to other people. That does not mean they do not feel pain. They feel it differently and express it differently, but indeed everybody does. So it isn't just a case of people with learning disabilities. So education and action, working alongside and modelling behaviour and how to get things right. The other one, and the fifth one, is an acute understanding of the Mental Capacity Act, Human Rights Act, and the Equality Act. Because if you don't understand the law, you cannot shape and change and challenge practice effectively to ensure that services are driven forward and care and treatment is provided at the right time, in the right place, in the right way, by the right people. And you can create posts. I've created many, many posts for learning disability nurses, some of which I've held, others are held by other people. And it's a fabulous way of demonstrating the worth. So if you're interested in finding out more, I've written loads about this, but other people have as well. And I will be tweeting out about it. You can go at Jim G. Blair, and you can follow me on Twitter and follow many, many other learning disability nurses. Find out, work alongside people, but always be there to shape and shift a better future for everyone.
Cool. Well,
you make you make it sound much more attractive than when I started training back in the.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ken. I think it is more attractive. I think possibly the problem in the past is people often didn't see people's worth and value. But having said that, in the 1970s, Perske wrote a seminal article called The Dignity of Risk. Some of the terminology used there is dated, but bearing in mind when he wrote it, but his thoughts are really powerful around enabling people to have better lives, seeing their value and taking dignity and taking risks, that opportunities and challenges for people where we all learn from making mistakes. Some people do, some people don't. But we need to have the opportunities to get things right and to evolve and to be engaged in our own futures. So I think what's changed now is people are seeing much more worth. There is a chap called Gavin Harding, who was the first ever person with a learning disability to be mayor of a town. He was the mayor of Selby. There's a lot of these things that are happening now. There's Sarah Gordy, who's an award-winning actress, Tommy Jessup, who's also an award-winning actor. People with learning disabilities being seen much more and heard, but we need to have people with a learning disability right at the heart. Why haven't we got MPs with a learning disability? Why haven't we got a minister for learning disabilities? Why haven't we got all of these things right at the higher echelons that can influence and shape and agitate for real change and enhancing lives as well as saving them?
Yeah, good point. So we managed to unmute Ken.
That's good.
Rachel, can you speak to us?
It was only because my mind crashed, and when it came back on, it said, host doesn't want to unmute you. Do you want to unmute yourself? I said, yes.
Oh, okay.
But it keeps coming up that host won't allow us to unmute.
Yeah, sorry, Rachel. I don't know why. Let me.
If Rachel puts something in the chat box, I've got it up at the moment. I can answer the question there if you've got anything you want to add.
If you fiddle your...
I'll say I'll answer it. I'll try anyway.
You put your cursor
no
on the
idea what the
bottom and click on the chat box, Rachel. You can type it in.
But it says that the host won't allow us to unmute ourselves.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. And I've unmuted you both, but for some reason it's not unmuted Rachel. So the only thing might be we've got 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about particularly? If you think about the World Cup football team, in 1966, England apparently won the World Cup. It wasn't actually, it was West Ham United. But let's not worry too much about that. The reality is that the last time England won the World Cup was not then. The last time England won the Football World Cup was a learning disabled team that won the World Cup. And people don't know about that. They don't celebrate people's talents, abilities, and sort of things that have worth and value in other aspects of society. But it is changing. On Twitter the other day, I saw that a local football team up in the northeast of England went round to this guy's house who's got Down syndrome. And he's a massive fan of this local team. And he's been working there for years and years. They brought along a whole load of signed kits and everything. And they gave him a certificate that gives him a life season ticket forever. Well, for his life, obviously, because that's what it says. And he's the only person who's ever had that. And he was absolutely delighted. And you just thought, talk about friendship. That's a real sense of value and worth. That they went to that extent to go and do that. Something that would mean so much to somebody that is really quite little, if you like. It's highly doable. But when you go to the local shops, when you go to your local hospital, when you go anywhere, look around and see who's there that's got a learning disability. Because wouldn't it be great if the receptionist in a hospital is someone with a learning disability? Wouldn't it be great if the person who's taking you to theatre is a porter who has learning disabilities? Wouldn't it be great that the clerk at the desk in the clinic that you're about to go to has a learning disability? The people in filing suites within hospitals and other areas can be doing these types of jobs. Post rooms, all of these things are very, very important roles. And in the 2 hospitals I worked in, we did that through employment creation and work schemes with local FE colleges. And it makes a huge difference to people. There was one guy I remember who used to carry around the red box. Now the red box in hospital, if you're not familiar with it, the red box is the box that a porter will carry around with samples in. Now AJ never used to stop. I'd be naughty, you see, and I'll try and stop him. And if it was full, he'd say, "Can't talk, got to deliver it." Now he was one of the best people because he'd always go A to B. He wouldn't go A, C, D, or let's chat to Fred, Tracy and Kevin and Mahendra and Mohammed on the way, or Rashida. No. He'd go there and then come back. And then when he'd finished it, you'd have a good chat with him. But what was great talking to his managers around it was actually the value that he had in that team. He was quick. It was a very responsible job, carrying the red box with the samples in. They need to be there at a certain time, and he could deliver them every time on time. And he never got lost, and he never got distracted. But boy, could he chat when his box was empty.
Yeah, but he was focused on the job, not getting distracted by other things.
Absolutely, and the responsibility of the job as well. He was very proud of the job because it was a very important job. It's not a job that had been tokenistically created. It was a job that someone's got to do in a timely fashion. The other thing that I've seen people do is give out the forms that are required in reception when you're at clinic. Rather than queuing up waiting for that form, someone with a learning disability can be there giving that form out, ensuring people have got that, giving them pens, making sure that things run smoother and quicker. Because otherwise, that's a healthcare assistant who's doing that or someone else, a member of the support team. And actually, they could be doing a different role. So actually, it frees people up to do other things as well. These are real roles for real money and have real value.
Absolutely. Well,
Rachel said you can't hear, but I can't see that you can stop anybody hearing. She must be on something else. I don't know.
Oh, that's odd. Well, she should be able to catch up on the replay, but I don't think she can see the chat box either. So it's the vagaries of technology. But anyway, I will share the recording. So I'm just going to really just summarize. Well, I want to say thank you very much to you for being here, Jim, and to Ken.
You're very welcome. It's been delightful.
Ken and Rachel as well, even if Rachel's not really been able to hear for much of it, but I'm sure hopefully we can sort that out on the recording. And I think for me the takeaway messages are treat people who are living with learning disabilities as people and just get to know them in the same way that you would get to know anybody else. And remember, in the same way that we do with other people, the families are, you know, an important part of that person's life, and can translate for people. And that's not just people with learning disabilities. So in a sense, there is no difference, although obviously clearly there is a difference, but how we as professionals treat people. I love the what you're saying about we're there to serve. So it's about finding out what their needs are, because we can't serve people's needs if we don't actually know what they are. So, yeah. So I think that's fabulous. So thank you so much. Really lovely
you're welcome.
to have
It's
you
been
here.
good to see you.
Yeah. So okay.
And you, Ken.
Yeah, take care, Jim.
Thank you very much, everyone. Don't forget, if you want to follow me, at Jim G Blair on Twitter.
Yeah,
See you later.
I'll put that in the chat.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks then. Bye.
Bye-bye.